Okay, I'm starting a new project. Um, this past weekend I watched the Ballerina movie. I'm definitely a John Wick fan. And I like the song in the credits. Actually, I like two of them. But in particular, the Fight Like a Girl is Evanescence Band. But there was also The Hand That Feeds. So I may do The Hands That Feeds. It really depends on Laurie, our singer. But I'm pretty sure she can do the Fight Like a Girl and do both vocal parts and will create a really good production. So when I want to do a cover like this, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find, well, like in this case, it was the official video for the World of John Wick Ballerina, and it's on YouTube. So I have a YouTube downloader program, and it will download YouTube videos, and you can choose the different resolutions. But you can also download it as just an MP3, just the audio. So that's what I did. I downloaded the MP3, the audio version, and then I upload that MP3 into the fader.com, FADR, which will do the stemming. In other words, it will separate the drums, the instruments, the bass, the vocals. And basically, but you can get more stems. You can separate the drums into the kick, the snare, and the overheads, everything else, the toms, cymbals. And you can actually split the vocals, so you could have the two different vocal parts actually split, which makes it easier as a reference when you're doing the cover. Now for me, I don't really read charts. I mean, I was familiar with reading a basic chart when I was working in a studio, and you needed to, you gotta go back here to this measure and punch in this part. And everything was done linearly in analog on tape. And now, of course, everything's done in the computer. You really, if the verse repeats or the chorus repeats, you only need to get one good version of it, and then you can copy and paste. And you can rearrange the arrangement, very easily without having to redo recording. So that being said, what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to create a new folder. Going up here to my Finder. I'm using Mac OS, as you can see here. New folder, and I'm going to, what's today, the 15th? And it's Fight Like a Girl. Okay, there's my folder. Down here on my server, my media server where I keep files on the network, I'm going to take the fader download file, copy it into that folder, and then the original MP3. And I'm going to double click on the zip, which will extract those contents, and then you can see here the bass, the drums, drum other, kick, snare, okay, all those stemmed out files. And I'm going to move this one into there also. Okay, I no longer need the zip, so I'm going to move that to the trash. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to note the tempo, and it's 91 beats per minute. So that's how I'm going to create a new project. And in this, I'm going to use I'm going to use Cubase 14. So, oh, that's OBS. All right, I don't need that. And I did have Cubase open, so here it is open. I've got no link to get anything. um, I'm showing my ignorance of Mac OS. Okay, no window available. All right, go back. What happens if I double click it? Oh, there it is, Cubase. So I want to open my hub. Now I need to load a template. Now what the template is I built up a DAW mixer in the Cubase program specifically for work that I can do. So I'll have in this case it'll be Stephen Slate drums, and I'll have recording channels for the bass, for guitars, for acoustics, vocals, and each of those will also be assigned to their own submix, sub bus. So I'll have a bus for drums, a bus for bass, a bus for guitars, a bus for acoustics, a bus for instruments that are done by MIDI, which I do on the keyboard, and a vocal bus, and then also the whole effects section. So I'll have delays for vocals, for guitar. I'll have plates and reverbs for the drums, for the vocals. Everything already predefined. I don't need to start from scratch. This is what we call a template. And the one I'm going to choose is my newer one. It's the SSD5, and it's specifically for Cubase 14, so I have a C14 here. And it's using the SSL J9000 across all the tracks. And I'm using Stephen Slate drums version 5. So I'll say create. There's Fight Like a Girl. So I open my project. Now it's loading the template. Takes about 40 seconds. The elixir of life. Coffee. This is Antigua. That's from Guatemala. And I roasted that myself. Okay. So you can see down here in the bottom half of the screen, this is what my template has created. So I've got drums, a couple of bass tracks, a couple of guitar tracks, 3 vocal tracks, 3 MIDI tracks, 3 acoustic guitar tracks. From that, the buses, and then all the effects. Okay, so time to import. I'm going to start. See, I already forgot what the 91 BPM. change our tempo here to 91. And let's bring the project in and measure 4. Let's make sure we're on the grid. Okay, 4. It's not super important because I'm going to have to slide stuff around. I'll go down here to the bottom where I have the submix, and I'm going to import. So I'm going File, Import, Audio Files, and Fight Like a Girl. Are these the ones? Yes. So I just select them all, click Open. I want to copy to the project folder. Yes. I want to convert. Yes. I don't need to split channels. Splitting channels means if it's a stereo file, it'll split it into 2 monos. And I don't really need to do that for the backing tracks that I'm going to use and throw away in the end after we do the cover. Okay, so now it's converting. My account on Fader lets me download WAV files. So they are WAV, but I use 48K 32-bit float. It's a little bit of a compromise. 96 I could handle, but it uses more CPU, there's a lot more latency. So 48 is a good compromise. And 32-bit float just gives me a really like an unlimited dynamic range, especially processing in the DAW is actually 64-bit float. So you never have to worry about peeking something out and clipping, or as long as the original file is not clipped, you've got ultimate high headroom. So I'm going to insert all of those onto different tracks. So that does that very quickly. And then you can see down here all of the tracks that were imported. And I like to take them and move them to the top of my project. This will do 2 things. That they're top, they're easy for me to hide and ignore when I don't need them. And the other thing it does is down in my mixer, get this compressed a little bit more. I don't need quite that much. So in the mixer, they all show on the left. And one of the things I need to do to all of them is I need to make sure I send them to my submix. Okay, they all went to submix. Next thing I need to do is get them organized. Well, lucky. First thing that comes out, all the vocals are at the bottom. It's great for me. I like, this is 14 and I seem to be missing a tool. So where is that tool? Oh. What a bummer. There should be some media, locators, markers, color menu. I think that's it. Yep. So those are yellow. Ding. So it makes them yellow here. It should make them yellow down here. I don't know why. This is something to do with Cubase 14. Why would they change that? It's really stupid. Although up here they're yellow. So, okay, next I want to put the instrumental up the top. This is the vocals removed, so it's only the music. Then I want to put the full drums, which is the drums, and then I want to put the kick, the snare, and the drums other. And I'm going to color them purple. So they made them purple up here, but not down on the bottom. Okay, next, the bass. That's going to be blue for me. Evanescence, I'll put this all the way up to the very top. That is the OG, the original. So that's original from the YouTube download. And then I've got this other, which is basically the drums taken out, the vocals taken out, the bass taken out, and whatever's left is called other. And I'm going to give that a green color. Now, another thing that happens when fader extracts, it doesn't necessarily create exactly the same start position as the original. And we'll see that when I expand this. And you can see pretty clearly this is starting after, or the stem tracks are starting before. So the first thing I like to do is get this track sample aligned. I can zoom in even more and you'll start to see, I can get it closer. That's pretty close. Let's try to get it right on the sample. Yeah, I think one more. Yeah. Okay. So, now all the tracks are in sync. Why is that important? Well, so I know what's going on if I just want to listen to the original and compare. It looks as though... Okay, now if I pull this all the way down, that's the actual recorded. But I like to get just a little more definition so I can see where the notes are. And let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3. If I start at 3, I start at 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. That will put me at, let me start at 4 and I'll end up at 6. So this should be the start. I need to get back on grid, select all the tracks. It looks like it's already bang on. I like that. So 4, 5, 6. And just move that right to here. And 4 will be my start. And we'll get all the way down to the end quickly. And we'll just give us enough space to, this will be the end. And now I can get to the beginning and the end really quickly. Next thing I like to do, and actually Jon has asked me to to generate the click tracks for him. So I will do a project. Signature track. See, they between the versions is some modification. I'm going to render audio click between locators. That means between the beginning and the end. So that does an audio click. I'll put that at the top, and I make sure that it's going to the submix. You may ask, why do I have a submix? So I have all these channels, and there's groups of them that go to group subs, and then all of those go to submix, and then the submix goes to the stereo output. The reason I do that is when I'm exporting a mix, I export from the submix, because on my main output I put my headphone plug-in. You may say, what is a headphone plug-in? Okay, these are VSX headphones. These are made again by Stephen Slate Digital. These use a plug-in to modify how these sound, and you can make them sound like other headphones or a group of different recording studios. So you could say, oh, I want to mix like I'm right in this studio. But I can't have that profile on my recorded output. So everything goes to the submix, and then the stereo bus is basically just for me for mixing and monitoring. It also means that my speakers are driven from that stereo bus, and I got to remember to bypass the VSX plugin when I'm using speakers. Sounds complicated, but okay, now this is a click all the way through, and what I want to do is I want to duplicate it, but I'm only going to play this in the intro. So I'll call this the intro click. And the intro click, because the song is starting right on 6, I'm going to get rid of that. And in effect, this is what it's going to sound like if I probably get a copyright strike. Not a strike, but copyright, because YouTube algorithm will analyze and say, oh, that music's from blah 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 blah. Okay, great. I get to do a piano intro. So I'm basically set up, except I haven't saved. So let's do save as. Do the same. I'll just call it fight. Now I'm basically ready. And I can, for example, I can listen to the kick. And that kick has a lot of low end, and the very first kick has like a bloom, which I'll need to duplicate. But then what I need to do is bring up, not that, channel editor, here, this. This is what the SSD5, the drums look like. So you basically, when you go up here to create, you can create kits first. Then you can modify individual instruments. And what I'm thinking is probably Frank Zumo has a more, I don't know, we'll try Sicko kit. You see it all loads in. Yeah, very bright. Only got 2 toms. So you can just go here, choose a different kit, and it's telling me this is a Ludwig 22-inch and a Ludwig what's this, 6.5? I think that's 6.5 deep. It's probably 14-inch. Same kick, same snare, but with more reverb. Okay, let's try Frank's kit. No, not enough low end. So the other thing I could do is just come down here to user and then try to find, yeah, see, I already have kits that I made. Let's see what the C14 Zumo. Then of course, because I have these all on different channels, I can bring this. You say you really want to have a low, maybe below 120. So I can get a lot more low end. And I could like cut off the top end. Whoa, that's sounds more like an 808 type. Boom. So again, I could find that 808 style, but it probably won't be in the Steven Slate drums. I might need to load up the Superior Drummer or one of the virtual synths will have Let's see, kicks. See, there's a Gretsch Ludwig. That's from Blackburn. Drum Workshop. Yeah, also John Workshop. Ludwig. So I'm wondering. Yeah, you even have Yamaha. I'm not seeing any electronic. So here's one that's called Boom. Hey. So you just drag it down here. Now my kick is boom. Piece of cake, right? Now we need to pick a snare sound. So let's solo the snares. And well, they're here. It sounds very gated. It's a gated snare. Right, kind of like a shot. So then we'll look for snares. So we come all the way back up and see. Probably you're not going to find it except under electronic. Reverse. Close. Snap. Tumble no. I'm wondering what's OG. No. The snare definitely sounds very electronic. Now you've heard that snare a million times. Hip hop and rap. That one. This one. The tap. We can listen again. Yeah, none of those. In this case, I might actually have to find a snare which is closer in attack these are CLA's drums. These are Drum Workshop, Ludwig, Pearl. None of them are tight enough. That one's close. Even higher. Let's see what Steven's got to offer. That's close, so I can work with that. So now we've got our kick and snare. Ooh, love it. Now, let's see which bass I'm going to use. I'm going to use a 5-string Warwick or fretless or P bass. That's 5-string to be that low. is mixed with the synth bass. I might only do synth bass. It's only one note, it's just rhythmic. No regular bass. Some of the bass could be in the other track. That's guitar mostly. Now when I hear it with the guitar, it gives me a better idea how to play it on bass. It's going to be fun. Yeah. And then, of course,
But can you fight like a girl?
let's see if it's separated them.
But can you fight like a girl?
Yeah, not bad. That's the harmony.
But can you fight like a girl? Can you fight like a girl?
AI is just getting better and better. Can you believe it? It's still got, what do I call it? Some type of artifact, kind of a high. But eventually it's going to get really, really, really good. Considering it does this almost in real time. When you upload, within a minute or two, you're able to download all of these. And what it needs to do, well, okay, maybe I shouldn't say that. They might get in trouble if they keep too much on their server.
Can you fight like a girl? Fight.
Can you
Can you fight like a girl?
So that's the harmony.
But can you fight
No,
like a
that's the
girl?
harmony, the low part.
But
Then
can you
you
fight
fight
like
like
a
a
girl?
girl. But then you fight like a girl.
Can you fight like a girl?
If you have not seen Ballerina, it's definitely worth it. And if you're a John Wick fan, then I'm sure you've already seen it. It's she gets her ass kicked, but that's the whole point of the movie, you know. And the song. When she's training, you know, they told her, "You will never be as strong as a man." So you gotta fight dirty. You gotta fight like a girl. So what does she do? She kicks the guy in the balls. Game over. Okay, this is my little intro, and it may not even be. It may not even be done. It really depends on Laurie. We've been doing so many old songs. It would be great to have something that, just within a month or so has been released, and we could put it on our Reverb Nation, and she can share it on her Facebook page, and everybody go, "Whoa, wow, you guys are doing new stuff." And who knows, this may not even be a hit, memorable in years later. Most of the stuff we're doing is all, yeah. Although there's some really weird stuff like Tomorrow, Wendy. It's really, when I read the background on it, it's really a bummer song. It's a story about a girl, Wendy, who's got HIV and is gonna die. So, anyway, Laurie did a good job. Jon did a good job. I do my thing. So that's my thing. Laying this all out, programming the drums, whether that's playing them on the keyboard, however I have to do it. Normally it's a keyboard. You see, if I come down here and this is from a keyboard. Well, there's a lot of. I'm going to mute the mic for a second. Otherwise, it's picking up the rumble from my keyboard. Okay. That's what I do. And then I play the bass. And I do all the keyboards that I can do. Could be strings, could be. In this one, there's piano in the beginning. I think Evanescence piano is really simple. It's not a difficult part, It's not like just a melody part. So it's good for me. And then, of course, all the mixing, the mastering, a lot of feedback from Jon. In a particular way, he'll lay out maybe now up to 21 tracks of guitar. Sounds like a lot, but you get them spread, you have left, right, centers, and then different levels, and what we basically do as much work as it takes for the original to be done. When they come in the studio and they already have it written out, they have all the parts, they have the lyrics, and then they're going to do their performance. So we're basically taking over from there and doing our own performance, although it's separate. I'm here in Taipei, Taiwan, and Jon is in Kaohsiung, and Laurie is in Colorado in the USA. And Ben is in Colorado, I believe. Annie is in Taoyuan, that's out where the airport is, the international airport. Susan is in Taipei. Who else sings? Oh, Margot is also in Colorado. Because Jon was in a band, he was signed artist, so he knew a lot of singers from back there. And although none of them are currently, professionally working like that, they still enjoy, recording. And got another song. Got my old Cornell classmate who plays harmonica, and he's going to do the harmonica on Middle of the Road, the Pretenders song. The problem he has is he's totally unfamiliar with the recording and the software and everything. It's typically most people, probably 98% of anybody you say, oh, how do you record it? Don't know. Sounds good to me, but I don't know how they do it. And I can't even tell what the different instruments are. It is something that when I first listened to music, it was classical music, and especially if you can, once video starts linking with, and you can see what is the instrument that makes that sound. So you know the difference between a violin and a cello, and you know the difference between a timpani or a regular drum set. And soon you understand, and your mind is able to separate all those parts. And for me, it was always enjoying the music, and the lyrics were the very last thing I thought about. I don't remember the lyrics. I don't know what they're saying. I don't know the meaning, but I'll go, oh, I really like that bass part. Oh, I really like the guitar lick that he's doing there. And the lead guitar solo. Oh, you can hum it. It's memorable. Or the performance on the drums. You're thinking of these old classics like Led Zeppelin. You know the and that's the John Bonham, and then and on and on and on and on. So that's why I still enjoy, came to Taiwan as a recording engineer, came back, not enough work to make money in that, switched to IT. I worked a long time in computers, mainframe computer, Unix, servers. I was Novell certified engineer. Who even remembers Novell? Well, if you're 60 years old, you probably remember Novell. And then 25 years ago, switched to networking, and that was really, networking is also a great field to be in, especially nowadays. Everybody's using a network device. So to understand what Wi-Fi is and all the configurations and the switches and the VLANs and the QoS, just the way now nothing works in what we used to call TDM, time division multiplexing. Everything's done by packet based. And most people don't think about it. They turn the mobile phone on, it connects to a mobile network, and they just use their phone. But there's a whole infrastructure that supports your mobile phone. So it's the integration of both the mobile technologies and internet. So it's great. I do miss it. I'm retired, but I still, I still keep up on what's the latest technology. And of course, what's happening is the networking went to what was called software-defined networking, where you had network devices, which you called white box, and you had software which would provision all of those. And the next step is AI to control the software layer so that you can utilize the best throughput on the network. Because the network is not always need a lot of throughput in one area, but maybe it only needs it during, a certain time of the day, and you can allocate. And now you don't need a human being to do that allocation. It's going to be all done by AI. And I'm telling you, you need to think about future. What are you going to do when your job is taken by AI? Because a lot of jobs that are white collar, especially in financial, accounting, stock, a lot of these are going to be automated. You're not going to need that human to do that job. I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, all the McDonald's is going to use robots. That's the low end part of AI. The high end is where it's going to take over much of what people are making the $100,000+ a year. Those jobs will be cheaply done by AI. So, think about it. If you're, still young, think about that future. You don't necessarily have to get into the programming of AI because AI is going to end up programming itself. But you may want to have a technical skill that everybody's going to still rely on. And a lot of those don't require college education. So I'm talking about auto mechanics, although auto mechanics now is including a lot of electronics, building, electrical, HVAC. These are all industries that are really hurting for people. And of course, oil drilling, you're always going to need those type of rugged guys that go out there on the rigs to get that black gold out of the earth. Anyway, I'm rambling. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. This is a fun little project. We'll see if YouTube is able to grab any of those little snippets. I didn't play the whole song or even a whole part of the song from the original track. So this is going to be a kind of a learning thing for me too. Anyway, that's it.